Hey guys, welcome to another Unlocks podcast. I'm your host as always, Clinton Tudor. Welcome. We're just going live across a few various platforms today. Do me a big favor. Please let me know where you're tuning in from. That would be amazing. We want to know where you guys are tuning in from. Let us know in the comments so we can shout you out. You tuning in from the States, you New Zealand, Canada, the UK, where are you at? Singapore? We need to know. It's early times here in New Zealand, 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday. How's everybody all going out there? Again, let us know where you're tuning in from. It's important for us to know where you guys are tuning in from so we can shout you out. Awesome. Unlocks podcast where we explore all things Fight Matters, relating to our sport. So we talk to coaches, we talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, we talk to fighters, we talk to gym owners. And the reason why we talk to all these people, just so that we can understand what's going on in the community and how we can help each other and lift each other up. That's the purpose of the Unlocks podcast. I ask the questions so you guys can get the benefit of the answers and try and implement and do a little bit better. 1% better every day. We move forward. Obviously, these are the people that are moving the combat community forward in the scene. So it's great to have these guys on. Our very special guest today, I want to get to this fast, is a rootin' tootin' homegrown girl. She's Kiwi and she's just living the dream. She's breaking new ground for New Zealanders, the New Zealand combat scene overseas. She's a lightweight professional MMA athlete. She's currently making her way through the PFL Challenger Series in the bid for a professional contract. Pundits and fans alike are actually calling her a legitimate contender in the league, which is amazing. And she's actually fresh off a blinding first round submission back in March against the very experienced Olivia Parker in PFL. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Michelle, the Wild One, Montague to the Unlocks podcast. Yeah.
How are you, Clinton? How are you?
Michelle, I'm super duper. How the hell are you?
Great. I'm fantastic.
Wow, I love the hair. You look awesome. Is this all part of the Wild One persona?
Oh, it's just like when you brush it for the first time in a week, you have no control. No control.
You look amazing.
It'll be what it'll be.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I always love to kick things off, these podcasts off, Michelle, with asking a basic question. If the house is burning down and you've got the chance to save 3 material things, what are they?
Oh, can they be living things?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, then I'm going to have to go. My dog, my mum, my dad. Grab them all up in one little scoop, like.
Taco, right?
Get them out of there. Yeah, that would be it for there's nothing else material, that isn't replaceable.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's close to home. Obviously, that's where the heart is. What's the dog's name? Is it Taco?
Yeah, Taco.
Oh, that's right.
I knew
Taco when we.
You knew him.
That's the coolest little dog ever. Just hung out there and watched the UFC.
Yeah, man. He loves Fight Day. He's happy. He's happy. All the family's at home. It's good.
Yeah. That's where life is good. So I mean, on that, what is your spirit animal, Michelle?
My spirit animal and an animal is probably like a grizzly bear or some sort of thing that doesn't realize how big it is and tries to play around like it's a wee little thing, but it like a boxer, like a dog. The dog that's a boxer and it's clumsy.
Yeah, I do.
It doesn't understand how big it is and it just falls over all the time, runs into your legs. That would probably be me.
Boxers are seriously really endearing, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly. They've got big hearts.
Huge hearts, the boxing. Okay, so where in the world are you joining us from, Michelle?
So I am in Boca Raton in South Florida. So that's about 45 minutes north of Miami.
Is that a small place, a big place? What's the deal there? What's the temperature like? What's going on? You're wearing a hoodie, or what's going on here? What's
wearing a hoodie because again, post big training, you have a shower, and you just want to just be cozy and die in your own arms. So that's the feel. AC's on everywhere in Florida, so you're always cold inside and hot as balls outside. Yeah, it's like 28, 30 degrees out there everywhere. There's probably like a storm like every other day or every day sort of thing that comes through, like comes and goes very quickly. But yeah, there's a bunch of small little cities, you could call them cities, around the place, kind of like in Auckland, how you've got like all the different little parts of Auckland.
Yeah,
very
really
similar,
spread out everywhere.
Yeah, exactly right. You can drive 20 minutes and be in a whole nother part. That's the similar kind of situation here.
That's cool. That's really cool. So what's good with you? What's going on?
Training, trying to get some fun stuff in there, like fishing and whatnot. Helping out where I can with the family business, and trying to hit some comps and that they're grappling comps and that they're coming up as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you're staying pretty busy. You're pretty busy over there. I mean, in the middle of a pandemic, when most people are kind of shutting down, right? Unless they've got things really lined up, most people are kind of shutting down and retrenching. But in the middle of the pandemic, you're jumping on a plane instead of jumping into the eye of the storm. What made you decide to relocate to Florida?
Well, during the pandemic, I went to Russia, right? And I had the IMF European Champs there. Then New Zealand borders happened to shut the day after I left, like MIQ, everything closed because there was that second little outbreak. And so then I was like, okay, well, we're not going back to NZ. There's like, that's a no-go. So from there, it was like, okay, we need to have another plan. We need to move past this now. Like New Zealand's just ridiculous in terms of the rigmarole of getting training in and fights in and travel. So that's no longer like a good option. And then obviously, ended up being over here in Florida. Popped home for Christmas and New Year's and that, and then I've been back over here since after the World Champs.
Whoa. Okay. So you've been there for a little while, and now this PFL Challenger thing, did you move over there specifically for that, or did you move over there and then that opportunity arrived? Like, how did the PFL Challenger thing, just let people know who's watching at home what that's all about, and how did this opportunity arrive for you?
Yeah, so I'd had a message come through from one of the PFL like organizer guys when I was in Ireland before I went home at the end of last year, and they'd asked me if I wanted to be part of the Challenger Series, which is a new thing that they were starting to bring in athletes to their divisions that haven't been in there before. So across all the divisions, obviously the one female one and then all the male ones. But yeah, obviously it was a for sure good opportunity for me. So I did the World Champs, and then straight after that came here strictly for obviously the PFL Challenger Series, and then obviously fighting with them after the fact as well.
So describe this Challenger Series, because not everybody probably understands it. Like, is it a locked-in program where you just sort of keep showing up to events, and then you in the hope to get a professional contract, or how's it work? Just so we understand.
So now, bear in mind, it's their first time doing it, so there's a bit of grey area for even us involved in it. But so what they did is they had the 7 weeks there, a different weight group on each week, and each night had 4 or 5 fights on it, 4 fights on it, and one person, and in one case 2 people on that night got given a spot in the regular season. So that was most people's goals going into that. Then obviously me having had no pro fights before that point, like as a team, like my goal and our goal going into that was, okay, we're not trying to get in the regular season after having no pro fights and going against girls that'll be 10 pro fights in. We want to get this development side of it. So to be under the PFL, fight on the the prelims and that there of their shows, and get some 3, 4, 5 whatever fights with them, and before I'm going to the regular season. So that's kind of the plan with it there. So it's do the one fight, and then they like you, they'll keep you on as a regular season, or they like you and they'll give you the development contract to fight under them, and get yourself, build up a bit of experience before you jump in there.
I love that. That's so cool. So you're kind of in this beta test group, and you already had quite an extensive amateur background, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
You were quite a decorated athlete, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you know, the challenger debut on the PFL with Olivia, that's obviously still fresh in your mind, right? Or have you kind of moved on to the next thing?
No, it's still fresh because I haven't had another fight since then, obviously. So that's still fresh. And you know, most of my fights are like they seem to keep a spot in my memory pretty well. So yeah, no, that's still fresh in my noggin.
Tell us about that, Michelle. Honestly, like it just the sweetest outcome you could ever hope for, a first round submission.
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, that was obviously. That was the goal from that fight, to submit her, and I was confident to be able to do that. It was just obviously setting up right and taking as least amount of damage as you can, obviously, to get there. And managed to get her back, get the suplex, and take her back, which is probably one of my favorite positions to work from, is latching onto someone's back, like a little limpet there. So for me, once I had her back, I was pretty confident that it was a done deal, and I had a minute and a half to work off her back as well. So plenty of time to get the finish as well.
Oh, that's super exciting. It must give you a huge amount of confidence, and what a way to arrive on the scene, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, you got to have confidence in your own abilities and all that there. But it was a great way to also, like, obviously the IMAF gives you a good platform, and it can be pretty high pressure. Format the way they do it. They have a big stage. There's fireworks, but it's still not professional, and it's not live stream on like these TV channels and stuff. And so the stakes aren't maybe as high, even if it is the world champs. So yeah, to go in there and have that feeling of like, okay, this is how this feels, not too different, but still like an extra layer to it, to wrap your head around. And yeah, so it was a balance of soaking that in, knowing like in the round that I obviously fought, like to know like, okay, let's not do certain things again that we did there, and let's do some things that were good even better next time. So it was a good little dose of everything to work on for the next one.
What a great splash. So, I mean, on those few things that you might not want to do next time, obviously we're hypercritical of our performance always. It's how we evolve. But talk about some of those things that you might not want to do next time.
Once when I went to walk out, like normally I don't get nervous ever walking out. Like I'm like a little bit of like excited and this and that and adrenaline and like this, the little bit of like something in your tummy, the butterfly feeling. But like before I went out, I remember thinking, oh, this is a little different feeling. So like to get rid of that, it'd be cool. Just basic shit. Just she didn't need to land a couple of the shots she did. Like I could have easily avoided that better, but I just got caught up in it, and then switching up those kicks a little bit so I'm not cracking the inside of a shin bone that's checking it, just stuff that you're not even really thinking about until it happens. You're like, oh yeah, nah, that was rough, but yeah, again, there's not heaps to take from it in that sense because it wasn't such a long fight. But for me, mentally, I think there's more to take, like how I was feeling in it, what I was thinking, like why I didn't pull the trigger sooner, all these sorts of things that like as an individual you can work on pretty easy.
Yeah, I want to go into that because I think the mental preparation of high performance sport is obviously so imperative, right? If you can sort of dream it and imagine it, it makes it that much easier to become reality. So if you're walking out there, what is your usual process before going out to a fight, and how was it different this time?
We tried not to make it different. It was hard with just such a small mat space, and you had four, two athletes and two coaches warming them up. I was the first fight, so I kind of got a bit of dibs on the mat space, but it was a real small little mat area and no wall to work off. But the process is usually the same. Like Carlo's been at every one of my fights, warmed me up for all of them, bar the ones that he like physically couldn't be there for. So we worked the same stuff. We did that there. Our grappling stuff, our takedown entries, basic hand stuff that we're working on. Nothing too specific on the other person as much as more just the stuff that I'm doing. And then before we go out, it's just clear head, calm, Like you can't get too hyped up. As soon as you step in there, it's going to be like you can't like control like the little feeling that you get. So might as well just like try and chill as much before you go out as you can in that walkout time,
Okay, so let's roll things back a little bit. Obviously, you've had this moment.
Stop. Larry Folsom steps in and stops it. And he
The moment there, we just quickly seen that video of you taking the back of Olivia and walking off. Not even surprised about it too, more like, yeah, matter of fact. So tell us what that feeling was like. Were you surprised that you got that submission so quickly?
No, I was happily surprised to get the back the way I did. It was worked out well, like slipping under that I don't know, hook or whatever she threw, kind of like underneath that as she turned to get her back, because I knew like my goal was to get to her back, and I knew I could take her down from there like very safely for me, like and it's not hard to lift someone off like that there. So as soon as I got to her back, then I was like, okay, sweet, we can work from here. Just not rushing it on the ground. Obviously I had my coaches telling me just to settle a bit once I did take her down, to not lose position and that there, because you can get carried away with it a little bit. And then working from the back again, like I said, it is my favorite position to work submissions off. So I was pretty happy to be there for the next minute.
And you stuck it in. So let's roll things back a little bit in time. Explain to folks at home where you grew up.
So I grew up in rural Matamata. So it's a town where people all have one of three things or a mixture. They either have a farm, they have a horse, or a small business. So, we've been through, I think my parents have been through all of those, and obviously now have a big business. So we grew up
on a farm. What is that big business? Sorry, let me interrupt. What is that big business?
Viking
kayaks.
Yes.
And what the hell is Viking kayaks for the folks?
So we manufacture and export the best fishing kayaks in the world. And so everywhere from obviously NZ Aussie, Italy, UK, Ireland, USA, even over here. So all around the world, those kayaks are sought after. So we make them in little old town that we're from. And that started, Mum and Dad were doing that in between milking rows of cows on the farm when I was too young to understand anything. So like they started doing that, 22 years ago, whatever it is, milk cows, and in between come and get a kayak molded and all that there. So they've been at it for a long time and really perfected it,
Oh, that's brilliant. So, I mean, let's just take that from the background. Did you grow up by yourself, or you got brothers and sisters, or what's the deal?
Yeah, so I have one older brother. He's 2 years older than me, and growing up with him was probably harder for him than me. He's so calm and chill and like cool, calm kid, and I was like complete opposite. Like, oh my goodness! So that poor boy had to withstand me thinking I was older than what I was, and stronger than what I was, and bigger than what I was, and always on his case, fighting him, biting him, like causing havoc. So that tamed out like a little bit, like, but so grew up with him. He'd have friends around. We'd all ride motorbikes on the farm, go catch lizards down in the back paddock, go walking through the bush, playing with our baby goats, like just riding on Dad's homemade go-karts, like everything redneck you could think of, like we lived there.
Yeah, I love that. Is that potentially where the moniker, the Wild One, came from? Maybe you brought this up from the farm living, the kind of crazy wild lifestyle goes with the hair. And
my gosh, like this is tame compared to what it was as a kid. I had this white blonde hair, like the color of my face, like white. It would just I wouldn't let my parents brush it. I'd want it just wherever. It'd be stuck in like snot across my face. I'd be on the front of Dad's motorbike like this, like with my hair just everywhere. Absolute mayhem. Just always.
Oh, that's cool. I love it. I mean, I've known you for quite a while,
yes.
Obviously through our BMX connections, and you've always been a little bit extreme and a little bit full tilt. Like, where do you think this spark come from? Do you think it just literally came from the life that you were living on the farm?
I would say yes. Like I was able to, like my parents could just let me be like a free wild child, like run around the farm, do whatever. The worst thing that would happen is I'd learn a life lesson with some scar tissue, like touching an electric fence or barbed wire. Like there's like nothing, I'm not going to be running into dodgy people in town and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was able to run free and learn some good life lessons through that. But I think since I was born, like I wouldn't sleep during the day. I was screaming all the time. I all the time had to do everything myself. This is before I even understood what anything was. Like dressing me was a whole like debacle for my parents because I would just not let them. I was always just shall do, and they'd have my left foot on my right hand and just everything back to front upside down, and that's the way we're going out.
Do you think your parents had much of an influence inspiring you like to pursue contact sports? Because I mean, it's not your typical girl thing to do, and obviously you didn't have a typical like childhood as such. You were living carefree, living on the farm, like just exploring out nature, letting nature give you the life lessons, if you will. But did when these early, like, was BMX like the first sort of contact sport that you got into, or was it something else? Because BMX is pretty extreme, right?
Yeah, the first contact sport I ever probably did was actually playing rodeo with the calves and cows on the farm, just riding them around the sheds. I mean, that's a pretty full contact sport. No, but actually, so my dad coached the midgets rugby team in town there. So like 10-minute drive into town off the farm, and my older brother was playing rugby because I guess it's what you do in New Zealand when you've got a young boy. You see if they like rugby. It's like, try this, see if you like it. So he did that. He wasn't like the hugest fan. He's not a super competitive guy. He likes mountain biking and his business and things like that there. So he's not too fond of that sort of stuff. But for me, I was watching and I was like, he's doing it, I want to do it. So I ended up playing rugby in the boys team since I was 4 years old till I think I did it 10 years straight with the boys. Like never missed a season. And then once you got to high school, you had to play in the girls team. And then after high school, I played for the Waikato women's team. So
wow, representative
so
already
from like 4 years old. So that's the contact side of it and why I'm so comfortable with it,
No, that's great. And I mean, looking at your parents, right? I don't think everyone knows this, but your mom was quite a high achiever with sport, like with body sculpting. She's traveled overseas and represented New Zealand and won all sorts of things. And your dad's pretty switched on, right? Just hard worker, spotting a gap in the marketplace with the Viking kayaks and exporting products all over the world. You grew up living a healthy lifestyle, and obviously their passion for life clearly rubbed off on you. Did that inspire you, like growing up, going, okay, or did you really know any better?
So the first one to do that, the healthy, even like the food side of it, which is a huge part of, any professional athlete sport. Like my mum doing the body sculpting she did from back when we were on the farm brought so many good eating habits into the family. Like my brother's always just been, a teenage boy at that time. Like he's going to do what he's going to do, and he's healthy now anyway. And he always has been. But like, me and dad kind of just, whatever's there, we'll eat it and we eat all of it at once. Like no, like there's no self-control there. But then when mum started doing the body sculpting, I ended up doing a couple of body sculpting comps as well, just because I knew that I had her there to do all the details of it. She did me a little diet plan. It was the first time I kind of like lost that little bit of baby fat as a late teenage girl. And even my dad, like to this day, his diet is like, I can't imagine a guy, another business owner that has such a good diet like him. Like he's not an athlete. He's athletic, but he doesn't do sport for competition. But he plays squash and all that there. He does training every morning. He's out there. I think 6 a.m. he goes to this gym class training as well. And my mum to this day also does her cardio and weights every single day. So
that's
they're
awesome.
just super healthy parents. They like surfing, fishing, diving, all that there. So for me, even when we went on holiday together, like dad would take us fishing, or like mum would be doing walks up the hill up the road next to us, So I've always just been around that, and it has been for sure like a super positive influence for me growing up.
Do you like growing up then, obviously buddies at school and things like that, and you've got all of these amazing habits from a young age, right? With high performing parents. I'm just trying to see if there's a direct correlation between high performing athletes and like a good, having good habits, being formed good habits young, which obviously formed from your parents.
Mm.
Did you notice when you were growing up, when you were a bit different to your peer group?
Super different, but I feel like it was nothing to do with the parent side of things. Like I could have been as normal as my brother, or like my friends all seemed super normal, you know, like did all normal girly stuff, this and that, the other.
But they didn't play rugby, right?
Studio, obviously when you don't have your friend group is a friend group when you're going through high school, and that then you're probably all got quite different interests, you know, because you're just kids and that. Once you leave high school, then your friend group is usually the stuff that you directly do, because you don't have to go to school anymore. So if I choose to be in a rugby team, I've got immediately one common interest with every girl there. We all girls that play rugby. So I think once I left high school, I obviously recognize there's a lot of people out there that are similar to me in terms of what I do, you know, physically. And then as I get older now and travel the world a bit, I start to meet more people also that are, you know, as nuts as me in the head as well. So it's like a win-win.
Finding your tribe all over the world,
honestly,
and seeing that there's more of you out there. What do you miss most about home?
Oh, my family. My family for sure. Just like, and we usually do like a barbecue on like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. You know, Dad smokes up the steaks there. You know, we're all around there as well. So it's that one for me is something that I really love, and like I miss that as well.
I can understand that. And moving from BMX to rugby to wrestling, what did you take from, say, the rugby side of things, transitioning into wrestling and on the mats, and how did that transition actually come about?
So the transition from those, I was doing both at the same time for a couple of years. It just took me breaking both my legs to finally just stop doing everything at once and pick one, because I just couldn't stop playing rugby. But obviously the body demands for rugby are to, you know, get big and strong and stay fit for long duration of a sport. And wrestling and MMA, it's quite different. You don't want to be carrying all this extra body weight, or if you don't have to, and you're performing for, you know, maximum at that stage 15 minutes at a time, more likely, you know, 5 to 10. So so the demands were very different energy wise and body wise, and it just that ended up having took a bit of a toll on my body, obviously. But yeah, I was just watching YouTube one day, and at that time the only chick who'd started fighting was Rhonda, and I was watching, how's this chick, like, what is she doing? What sport is this, for one? And for two, I feel like I'm built like her. This is like the sport that I feel like I can do. It's you don't have to be nimble and petite and you know, pick up a whole new skill with like a racket or a ball or something. You know, it's your body that you have to figure out and learn and use that properly. So for me, I was like, this is that appealed to me. So then I just like got home, googled up like MMA gym near me, and then, you know, closest one was just under an hour away in Hamilton, called Core MMA. So that's Carlo's gym. So I was able to pop straight over. I remember calling and being like, what do I need to bring? He's like laughing. He's like, nothing. You're like, it all makes sense now that I know him. But at the time,
you want a pair of shorts.
Do I need to bring, like, normally you go to rugby, you need rugby boots, a mouth guard, this and that. Like, he's like, just show up, just bring nothing. I was like, what is this
BMX,
sport?
you need a helmet.
How do I not need to bring anything? Yeah. But I rocked up.
A whole van load of stuff.
Yeah. So I rocked up anyway, and I remember I wasn't working for that first few weeks when I first started. I was training rugby, and then I was just doing morning, lunch, night class back to back to back every day. And I was addicted like instantly to it, especially the wrestling side, because it translated well with rugby in terms of a double exit tackle. Like for me, I was like, okay, cool, I can tick one learning, like I got it. So for that side of it, that was very helpful. But then after I'd been there, I think 5 weeks, and ended up doing this all women's fight show, and having a fight that night as well. So it was cool.
Wow. So it's like a baptism of fire. You've been there for 5 weeks, and boom, you're already having a show.
Yeah,
that's the best thing to do as an amateur, right? Just jump in there.
It is kind of right. If it's a safe enough environment, right? And it's we're wearing shin pads. It's you're against another girl that's never fought before, and you know, we weighed in the same weight within a kilo. So it was all very like well monitored in that there. And it was an all female show that they used to run. And I ended up winning in the first round with a guillotine. And so, it was a perfect first experience, that didn't make me shy away from it at all.
That's it. Keep you going, keep you motivated. And that's full credit to Carlo and his team, obviously keeping things really safe. And they're running the Wimp to Warriors now, Alta. They're accredited to do that. And obviously this is the reason why, because they have a brilliant gym and a great culture. You've had some pretty big setbacks at actual pivotal moments in your career. Like I remember being over at the Com Games where we were there doing our thing, and you didn't get to compete because you had an injury right before the event. And you've obviously had broken bones and other things like this. Like these are really tough setbacks for most people. Like how did you deal with these mentally? How did you move through and turn these wins into setups?
Yeah.
Turn these losses into setups.
Yeah. I have had a few. I did the big arm break in BMX, and then the one leg in rugby and the other leg in wrestling 2 days before my flight to the games. I think the first time I was so young that it was like, oh, I've got a cast on, sucks for summer, I can't swim in the ocean. Like that was my biggest cry. So I think, for that one there, it was all right. And then the other one with the rugby one, that one hurt a lot inside because I had been gaining heaps of weight, like in a good way, and I was trying to trying to get a look in for the Black Ferns. So for me, the game that I broke it in was very important, and I broke it in the first 5 minutes, just freak accident. So so that one, I remember being in the ambulance and saying to my mum, like crying, like what a waste of time, and like that just like hurt to say that. And I know it wasn't a waste of time, but that one hurt because of that. I was lucky in that one to have, teammates around me that have all been through multiple either knee surgeries or this injury or broken legs as well. So a lot of girls in my exact position, either at the time or had been in the past, that I was able to either rehab with or get help from, and get, back sorted for rugby. I remember I was training some wrestling in my cast. I just used that foot at the back and then was just doing wrestling shots onto the crash pad. So yeah, I probably didn't have to do that. I'm sure it's probably not great now. But, well, either way. And then
didn't see that.
But the worst one was probably the one that was right before the games. That would have been the biggest wrestling, like tournament that I would have been a part of. And, I'd saved and fundraised to go to Canada to train at one of the universities there with their senior girls. And I'd been, staying, training, eating good, all this, and then just to have another freak accident, which probably boiled down to me maybe not eating enough if I had to pick something, and my bones just losing a bit of their strength over time without me really noticing. I was probably getting down a bit low in weight, like towards what my comp weight was before I needed to. And that was just me overstressing it, or maybe at that point because I didn't have, the fight dietitian to work with, so I just didn't know any better.
Shout out Geordie and his team, the fight dietitian.
Geordie, exactly. Saving chalk bones for 3 years now. So yeah, that one there, I remember obviously a heartbreak and kept thinking, oh, it's sprained. Like I'm in the hospital bed in Canada, also screwed up, didn't have insurance. So that was a hefty bill.
Okay, so that's a little caveat to people who are traveling overseas and immersing themselves in different teams overseas. Get insurance, right?
It's cheap as shit, but I just didn't even think about it. Normally, it was my first athletic trip overseas. It wasn't something I thought about. Normally, when you book flights, you can click add on insurance. This one I had booked whatever cheap flights I could get, so it was a bit of a third party site. Didn't offer that, and anyway, didn't we learn something today? So yeah, that flight back to New Zealand was pretty rough, and then I had the surgery, and my family were already in Aussie at the Aussie factory and going to watch the games as well. So I flew straight to Aussie from the surgery, in that little temporary cast they give you, and stayed. Where did I stayed at? Managed to be able to get a room at the at one of the official hotels there.
I think you ended up at the QT.
Yeah. So that was a blessing there, meeting the right people and talking to the right people, because I was just going to get Airbnbs and Ubers. So that worked out well. So you had the rush of everything happening at that point. So mentally I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm a bit down and it's a bit painful, obviously, but like it's awesome seeing the team perform and being around everyone. But like once I got home, like it was pretty rough, because I wasn't training. I felt like I was losing like all my strength in one leg, obviously, because I was. I couldn't work because I wasn't able to use that leg, like for a while, because it just needed to heal, right? So yeah, I remember I got pretty depressed that year, and that's a pretty hard thing to go through. There's so many injuries, and then to get so close to something, and then just to mess it up, and then to be back home, and it's all quiet, and you're like, what am I doing? So I mean, that was a rough one, but hey, we got through it.
Yeah, and I mean, just to put it in perspective, these are the Games, the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in Australia. Like, so talking about those times that were very challenging for you, what did you have any tools or tactics to help you get through that, or did you have a mentor or someone that you spoke to get you through those tough times?
For me, I don't like so much talking to people, because I don't know what it is. I don't like to tell people what's going on or what's upset, like beyond maybe a couple people. Because then I feel like I always have to update them if something changes, if I feel different, and it adds on a task in my little OCD brain. What I do like to do is I like to write like lists down. I'm not a Dear Diary kind of girl, but I'm like here's my to-do list, and stuff I can tick off, mark off. And so, I'd make my little list. It would be like, Michelle's feel-good list or whatever. So it would be the smallest things, like getting your hair done, lashes or brows, or, going fishing or going for a walk up the falls with the dog, like little things like this here that I know will make me feel better afterwards, even if it's something that I really don't feel like doing. That was probably one of the more important parts there for me personally, is always writing little things down that I can achieve, and knocking those off. And then, the little endorphin that releases and feel good feels, for me, is a huge game changer.
I love that. So the little takeaway there would be, like, put lists together that you can control, so you build momentum throughout the day, and don't just sit there and get stuck. You're
exactly
doing things, building momentum. I love that. I really do. So I want to just talk about, let's just leapfrog into now where you are in the States. You're in Florida. You're living the dream, really. And it seems like you've adapted to life in the US quite well. Who's in your inner circle making that transition a little bit easier?
Well, I live by myself, with, rent a room kind of thing. But I have my, big sister, Nicole, here, and her partner and family. So I've known her for maybe 8 years, back when I lifeguarded here all that time ago. So she is definitely someone I can lean on and rely on. And then obviously I've got a few training partners that I'm pretty close with, that I can count on to, have my back, or if I need something, or if I'm having one of those days and I just need to talk to someone face to face, then I can. But honestly, those messages with, family, and that there is the one that helps you stay grounded. And then when you get caught up in it all, or you have a shit training day, or you get your ass kicked in sparring, and you just want to put yarn to someone that just gets you, you can't go wrong with those family calls.
I love that. And you strike me as a person who really thrives on routine, right? Like having a checklist, knowing the dates in the calendar, knowing when to turn up, what to eat, having it all sort of pre-programmed as such.
It's literally my book right here.
Show me that book. Let's have a look at that.
No. I don't need somebody pausing and doing it up there. It's got my weights in it. My God, no way.
All right. Well, I mean,
it's got why I didn't train one day. Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. Look at this. Dear Diary, that sounds like an athlete's journal to success by the sounds of things. Maybe I feel like there's something in that, Michelle. Describe a typical day for you now that you are in a routine in Florida. Like, where are you training? What's going on? How many days are you doing submission wrestling? You're doing striking? You're doing cardio, weights, all that kind of stuff. What's happening for you?
So a typical day, they're all, different to each other. For example, the busiest days are Tuesday, Thursday. So Tuesday, so we've got sparring at 11 a.m. So sparring, and then on the Thursday I do sparring and then help with Kayla's circuit because she's 2 weeks out. And then go to strength and conditioning at 2 o'clock, and we'll get that all through with our girls fight team at Daru Strong. And then obviously come back, eat a little bit, have a share and stuff, and then we head back to the gym for 6 p.m. drilling. So that's pretty much every Tuesday, Thursday is those 3 sessions there. And then Mondays and Wednesdays we've got wrestling or grappling or double wrestling or striking, wrestling, grappling. So yeah, it's 2 or 3 sessions a day, Monday to Saturday.
Wow. And where is this happening for you? What is the home gym?
So American Top Team. So that's American about 15 minutes up the road.
Do you get, like, there's quite a few stars running in and out of there. Do you get a little bit starstruck at all? Or like, oh, that's that person.
They're just fighters.
Huh?
No. They're just fighters, literally. They got 2 arms, 2 legs, brush your teeth in the morning. Like, they're just people that have, gotten further down the track than, for example, myself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's, I've never been that person who sees them differently when it's something that I myself do.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That's cool. And the PFL Challenger Series has a specific pool of fighters in it, right? And with a very scheduled program. Do you like this approach? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, I love it. I obviously don't have experience in other promotions to differ it with, but I like the idea of it. I like knowing that, okay, you're definitely fighting, these 2 events. If you win, you're fighting all 4 or 5 events, you know what I mean, in the playoffs. So I love that instead of, okay, I might get a call for a fight then, I'm ready, but no one's calling me. But instead, this is like they capped the amount of fighters, so they know that they will all have this many fights. The winners will definitely have this many fights. You know what you're getting paid at each one in increments as well. And so you already know all of that before it all starts. And yeah, so for me, I love that. I like, because like I said, I like planning. I like to know exactly what's happening, dates, who, what, where, wins. So for me, like that there is, a great setup.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, unlike, say, the UFC, right? If you're a pro fighter, you've got to wait for a contract and see if they're going to fight you, You might get a five fight contract, but you don't know if those 5 fights are going to happen that year or, then also with the pool, especially the times that we're living with COVID, your opponent might end up getting COVID, for example, but then they've still got the pool of fighters they can bring in and you will get that matchup.
Yeah, and all the girls that are, or say all the fighters that are in that division. So, a lightweight's a pretty, small division in the whole world because, most of us can make the weight below, bar maybe a few of the girls that are, giants. But, so you do kind of know who you're going to have, for around and out of that pool of fighters or the couple that are on the fringes.
So speaking of that pool of fighters, like, is there anyone you're looking down at the line and going, you know what, I'm itching to fight you? Is there any names you can throw out there for us?
Good question. I would like to fight the chick that fought on my card and then fought again the other week. I didn't get asked to fight her on that random fight, but I would have loved to. So she's beat the other 2 grapplers, and I would love to put her to a proper test.
Who is that? Do you know her name?
Body slamming queen? I don't know. She's lovely. I'd love to fucking fight her.
We'll make our research and find out who that is, and maybe we'll shout that out. So 2022, obviously things are locked and loaded. What's in store for you? Do you have any fight news that you can announce right now? When can we next support you on a show?
Yeah, so next fight looks like, because the PFL has all the regular season to get through, that would make me and the other development fighters from August. So August or September. Unfortunately, is obviously a bit of a gap. But instead, I've got like a wrestling tournament next week, and then I've got the Jiu-Jitsu World Champs in the start of the first week of June. So that'll keep me, busy enough as we're going through. And then obviously being able to help with Kayla's fight camp as well keeps me, it doubles up my schedule. It keeps me learning the kind of stuff that I need to and putting that extra work in. So if I did get called in for something, I'd be ready anyway.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I've just sort of watched your evolution of fighting. I sort of went back and ran a bunch of tapes, and it seems like every time you fight, you're a slightly different fighter. Like you bring a few more skill sets to the game, especially with the submission wrestling, the BJJ, more technical, and the striking is which you've leveled up a lot on. What do you attribute that to?
Well, even though I've had 14 fights, they've been so spaced out with the bad injuries that I've had and been working full time for most of that time. So I have never actually just trained, and this is the first time that I've done that. So obviously my parents supported me for my last sort of 3 fights that I've had, and I was able to work part-time and train part-time, and then that made me level up quite a bit because I was putting all that extra work in. And then now being over here and being able to just train and recover full-time, like it does make you grow a lot quicker, obviously, because it's the numbers game. You're putting more reps in there. You're working on the things that need fixing a lot more, and you just have more time to spread out what you're learning also. So instead of cramming it into just the evening after work, 4 days a week or whatever it was before. So I think that would be what it is. Perfect world if I just had one sport and I'd done it from this age, and then I just trained and I didn't go to school and I just did this, no work, then I'd be, these people will be leveling up, but that isn't my story or my case. So that's why it's a bit of a slow run till now. And then hopefully we see it growing up like that there.
Yeah, but we all have our own journeys, right? And yours is unique, and that's what makes it special. So what can fans expect from a Monty fight? Like, you come out next, is there anything you're specifically working on? It was obviously great to get the submission win on your debut, but is there anything specifically you'd love to showcase in your next fight?
If I can hit a suplex every fight, mate, I'll be a happy girl. If I can hit that every time, happy days. No, honestly, what they can expect is that I would finish the fight. I mean, I think, out of all my fights, all the fights I've won, only one's been decision. So they could expect that I would be finishing the fight and, look for some sort of fun takedown in there. But that's what I enjoy.
The fight fans are pumped, that's for sure. I got another question for you. Just for swapping coaches a bit in and out, like moving to different countries and moving around, are you finding that difficult at all to adapt to?
If you find the right ones, it's not. Obviously Carlo's always been a part of it no matter where I've been. We don't have to talk every day to know what each other's up to and what we need to work on and all that there, and he knows what schedule I'm on as well. So I've always had that base there with him, whether I've been at the gym there or I've had to go somewhere where I can be training full time or whatever it was back then. So, you pick up skills wherever you are. You just have to have an open mind, and you have to be coachable, which is, has been a struggle in the past of being so stubborn. So the older you get, hopefully you can iron that out. And then the coaches that I am around the most here, are the ones that I seem to get along with the most anyway, Mike and Moko. So, around them the most, and they've got to put up with two crazy big bomb bitches energy. So I'm like, okay, we're good. We fit right in, so it's fine.
I love that. And what do you think are the attributes that make a good coach? And I mean, not just a good coach for male fighters, but a good coach specifically for female fighters.
They have to be I don't know if the word is patient or open-minded. Maybe resilience the word. They have to be resilient to mood changes because it's gonna happen. It sure as shit will happen once a month, if not once a week. So they just have to be. They have to be open-minded to, to expect girls to be like a bit up and down with how they feel day to day, like for no real reason. It'll just happen. And you just gotta be like, okay. And you've got to know, like, they just got to know not to ask what's wrong, to say less, and just tell them what reps to do, and they'll just do it. So I think that's probably one of the main ones, because if you can't get that right, then they're not going to be open-minded, and no one's going to learn anything, and you're going to end up hating each other. So I think that would be the first one there. And then the other thing is that girls are literal learners, and I've noticed this through coaching women's rugby or even the women's MMA back at core, is that we like to learn, we like to know what we're learning, why we're learning it, and how, like, all that sort of stuff. There's the odd exception of girls that like don't care about that, but most of us want to know that stuff. Like, okay, oh, that's why we're doing that. Oh, this is what that works on. Oh, and then that's that. So once we know that stuff, then we're like, okay, we'll hit the rep.
I love that. So that's my take on that, is that the coach needs to explain like why it's important, give a bit of a story, then explain the strategy, and then go into the tactics.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be long-winded or in detail, but it's just like, even if you're doing something in the gym and I'm like, am I doing this for distance or for height or whatever, the jump or whatever it is. Whereas a boy will just do it. And if you tell them, oh, no, do it like this, they'll say, okay, and they'll change it. Whereas girls like to know, like, before they start, they want to be prepared and they want to do it right. So it crosses over to, stuff in the MMA gym as well. It's the same sort of thing, Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but I would say most girls are going to be wanting to learn like that as well.
No, that's really good to point out the difference. And now you're in the pro leagues, PFL. How important do you think it is for fighters to, have a good personal brand, have a presence on social media, have a little bit of self-promotion? Do you think that stuff's important as an athlete?
I think it's important to not shoot yourself in the foot with it. It's not super vital to, pump it yourself, because if you're a good fighter, you train hard, you're a good fighter, you're honest in that there, like, your social side of things will grow anyway. Even if you're dry as fuck with no personality, like, it's going to grow because you're a good fighter. And we see that. But if you focus too much on all the other side of things and not where it counts, then it's kind of fake. But yeah, so what I mean, so basically don't shoot yourself in the foot with it, is that don't be posting stuff that you wouldn't say to someone, like, genuinely on the street or at the gym, because no one's going to want to read that shit. So don't focus on it. But once you, obviously I'm not even at that point, but there's people that are make money off their social media side of things. And so it's super important to them to put energy in it daily, or even pay someone to do it for them. That's a whole nother level of the game there, and how they're making money. But at this stage, for me, it's a good way to, share with people that know me and support me, like, what I'm doing, how they can support me, and mostly just training stuff, whereas you get to that certain level where people use it as a money tool on the daily.
Right. Yeah, that's it. So my take on that is that you're using it more or less to share your honest journey of how you're getting to where you are, and you're not necessarily posturing about, what you are or what you're not. It's more of an honest as at what's going on, and it's a way to interact. And
like, here's the fish that I caught. Here's like dinner with the friends. Here's a funny meme.
Yeah, talk about the things that are important to you, right? So you're kind of communicating that to other people, then they can be more relatable to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just keeping it real, eh?
I like it. So we've got a lot of Anzac fighters, a lot of Kiwis, a lot of Aussies, and this, that are coming through the ranks now. Do you feel like this is a sort of beginning of a breakthrough? Obviously, with you being out in the States now, is this a tidal wave of things to come?
I think the wave has happened, you know what I mean? Like, I think that happened first when all the city boys just started slowly, like, cracking it each, so whether they're champs or ranked or not ranked, like, I think that was the wave. And that's what made a lot of other Kiwis be like, holy, these are guys that I know and I train with, like, we can do this. And obviously Jenna had been in the PFL for her third year now as well. And so the first chick to really to go on that scene from NZ. So, it's awesome to have more females doing that. Like, I'm glad to be part of that, and hopefully inspire other girls that they can do it as well. But yeah, I think that first wave initially there was all those boys making it 4 years ago, whatever it was now.
Yeah, that's right. And you had a few camps at City Kickboxing too, right? So you totally understand that culture in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a full of banter. They work hard. They laugh hard. Yeah, I was actually thinking about it randomly today. I think I saw something online and made me think of it. But yeah, I think because it's Friday, and I was thinking about the Friday King of the Wall and the dodgeball thing, throwing gloves at each other. I was like, it's super. I was thinking about it. I was like, it's super unique. But like, yeah, I honestly, I love the culture there, and what Doug and Eugene have done with it is like, it's amazing.
Yeah, full credit to those guys. What are some of your big inspirations right now? Like, I mean, maybe it might be from outside of fighting too, but like things that sort of keep you going. What are some of the big aspirations, and inspirations that you've got in your life right now?
I would think my biggest inspiration, like hands down, is my parents. For them to go through what they've gone through, choke up a little bit there. For them to go through what they've gone through and just stay so positive with it all, and sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on what happened
and create like a new faction that there? For me, that's like, I just want to make them proud and do well as fuck.
Good on you, Michelle. Yeah, no, that's cool, because we're talking about setbacks and turning setbacks into setups. Obviously, the factory, I just drove past that. I was down a Rotorua driving back to Auckland. I come through the back of Madam, and I looked across at that lot. That's where the business stood, and it got gutted by fire, didn't it?
Yeah. Yep. That's tugs at the heartstrings, that one.
And so you guys are literally rebuilding. So what you're talking about is like how your parents are staying so positive even through that negative experience.
Through that, and they still support me. There's still work that I can do to help out from here on the admin and export side. The way they teach the crew new things and, carry them through it as well is, huge inspiration to me.
Oh, I love that. So I wanted to talk about the future a little bit and just talk about goal setting. You seem like a very goal-orientated person. You write lists down, you check them off, you have an overarching sort of theme. You always work really hard, your work ethic. And I think the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So my question actually is, what are some of the biggest goals that you've got? What are the big goals that you've got? Do you want to share those with us?
So obviously, my big goal is to inspire and motivate, other women in MMA, and even young guys in MMA as well, no matter what either they've been through, whether it's a good upbringing or poor one, or whatever it is that they've been through, just knowing that they can do it as well. So I'd love to be like a legend in the sport in that way, where whether it's wins or losses, like whatever, so long as you've been a huge role model to others, you've had successes inside and outside of the sport that all tie together. That for me would be, the icing on the cake. So that there's a big one for me, and it's sometimes it's scary to like look ahead and think, wow, there is so much work to be done and time to go before, to have, after having one pro fight and 13 amateur fights. It's like, but it only really has started just now, finally training full time. And like, it almost feels like starting from the bottom again in a sense, because it is in the pro ladder of everything, but it's a complete life switch. So yeah, I just really want to have that kind of positive impact on those people around me and people that might look up to me.
That's beautiful sentiment. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Shout outs, sponsors, friends, teammates. Let's shout them out. Roll call.
Oh, shivers. Okay. Obviously it's hard being over here, not having access to the stuff that my sponsors normally are able to give me, but I'm too scared to list in case I forget one after having a little teary moment there. I'll tag them in a post.
Brilliant.
but honestly, yeah, my family being my number one supporter and through all this and making all this possible as well is the massive one for me. So yeah, obviously without them, and obviously having the gyms over here welcoming me in, you know, like one of theirs, and letting me jump on the mat and be crazy with all their athletes as well. So, you know, that's awesome for me. And yeah, there's a lot of people to thank, but they'll know who they are.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, you light up a room when you walk into it, Michelle. Like, and I know that you have all the best intentions, and you come from an amazing family. So I can see why you're having the successes that you've got. And I think it's important to realize, you know, to have a goal and have a dream and follow it. And I think what you've just experienced and what you've just said about inspiring other people, I think is amazing that you have that purpose.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate everything. We've got how the best ways to keep in touch with you. Like, what's the best deal? How do we stay in touch? How do we follow the journey of Michelle, the Wild One, Montague?
Yeah, so at the Wild One MMA for Instagram, that's the best way. It's where I post the most stuff. Obviously, I've got a Facebook page as well. That's just the same name as well, Michelle the Wild One Montague. So if people want to follow on that one as well there. And I've got a little wee YouTube channel that I post very irregularly vlogs on. So if you want to see some, you know, some slightly above average content, head over there too.
I love it. And on that note, we're going to end the Unlocks podcast for this issue. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and we wish Michelle the Wild One Montague all the very best in her future endeavors as she hunts for a PFL pro contract out of the Challenger Series.
Thank you.
Yeah.